Hey guys, what is up? This is Bolterity. I'm bringing you guys a new update video for 1.6. I'll be showing a few PvP and PvE builds and setups thoroughly and in detail. So I'll be including links in the description for you to skip through the builds, for you to just go directly to the build that you want to learn about. I'll be showing off some of my champion points where I have put them in, but I'm not really decided fully on them, but I'll just be showing them to you guys just for you to see what I'm doing. I'll be showing my armor, my glyphs, and my mundus, and some of my traits and what I've been thinking of doing recently. So I hope you guys find all this stuff helpful and enjoy. Alright, I'll be starting by covering my skills. So I'm running 28k Magika, sometimes 29k depending on my armor and my Undaunted passive. I get 19k health in PvP, and right now I'm not in PvP. I get 20% spell crit, but it could go up to 32% if you unlock the passive from the constellation. Let me see which one, the apprentice constellation. Spell precision, when you put 30 points into it, you get a 12% spell crit. I haven't unlocked that yet, but I'm working on it. I got my Atronach mundus to buff my spell, my magic recovery, because magic recovery glyphs have been kind of nerfed right now. They're not really worth using, so it's better off going full on spell reductions. So I pretty much buff my recovery from the Atronach mundus and some pieces of my armor that I have put divine straight on them. So next I'll be showing my my first build, my first setup actually, which will be for PvP and running Undaunted pieces. So I'm running 2 Engine Guardian. Sometimes I run 2 Bloodspawn pieces, depending. I run 4 Warlock, 5 Seducer. Another reason I'm not running 5 Warlock, 5 Seducer on the same setup at once is because my Undaunted pieces are both heavy, or either heavy and medium, and you don't get much you get less recovery and reductions than if you run 7 light instead of 5 light and 2 medium or heavy. So I really need the 5 Seducer. So if I run 5 Warlock, 5 Seducer and my 2 Undaunted pieces, when I switch over to my Resto Staff, my 5 Seducer switch over to 4 Seducer, and my healing ward is gonna cost a lot more, and my streaks and pretty much everything. And I can't really afford that, so I just go for 5 Seducer, so I guaranteed keep 5 Seducer even when I switch over, and I just go for 4 Warlock. And it's not much of a sacrifice, it's really fine, and I don't really suffer at all pretty much of Magika. So it's 4 Warlock, 5 Seducer. I still got my V1 Warlock rings. I put in all my rings reduction glyphs, because recovery glyphs have been nerfed, and really it's very much better to run reductions. I got both heavy pieces for my Bloodspawn, but you're better off with 1 heavy, 1 medium, like I got on my Engine Guardian, so you can get more bonus from your Undaunted passive. I got a sword with a sharpened trait on it. Divines on my shield, and all my Seducer pieces got divines on them to buff my my Atronach mundus for more magical recovery. Alright, so my next setup will be for a PvP setup, which will be 5 Arena, 5 Warlock, and 2 Torx packed. I'm running the same Warlock jewelry with a sash and breeches. The rest is fully Arena with divine straight on it, and 2 pieces Torx packed for the spell damage. Now you can change your Torx packed for Seducer for recovery if you want to, but I prefer the spell damage. Now the Arena set, I'm wearing it definitely for the reason of to manage my stamina resources much better. Now it's definitely worthwhile using. I found my stamina much more long lasting, I guess. It does not really drain fast enough, but I didn't really find it convenient for myself, because I'm not a person who really uses spots much, and I kinda had a bit of problems with my Magika. Now it isn't really much of a problem, but it's a bit of a problem, because As you can see, you're running 5 Warlock, but not 5 Seducer, and I right now I find Seducer much better than Warlock. But Warlock kinda helps a bit, you know, to make up for the loss of Seducer, but not completely. So if you're a person who uses bots, then you can actually go with Arena, but if you're not, I really do not recommend it. Alright, so my next setup is also for PvP. It's a combination of Magika consumption reductions and damage. It's kind of a good combination for you to have some good damage and good resources of your Magika. So it's 3 Warlock, 5 Seducer, 2 Torx Pact, and 2 bands of Cyrodiil's Light. So I'm running 3 Warlock, which is my robe top and my gloves and my my necklace. The rest as of my armor is completely Seducer with Divine Straight on it. My shield and my sword are Torx Pact for the spell damage, and my Cyrodiil's Light rings are enchanted with spell damage, and they both give you a spell damage in 2 pieces. Now, definitely you lose more Magika running this build, but it's not really hard to survive with it. Magika consumption isn't really high, and it's kind of decent and balanced out nicely. You could, if you run it in a right way, you should do some decent damage and sustain well in a long fight, hopefully. Finally, my last PvP setup is the simplest and most common one. I've shown it even in my last build video. It's 5 Warlock, 5 Seducer, and 2 Torx Pact. Now in this build, you really should not be running out of Magika whatsoever. You should be really good and fine on Magika the entire time. I run reductions, everything is the same. You could change your 2 one-hand and sword pieces to any other thing if you prefer, maybe Magnus or something else. I used to run the minions 2-piece for the stam recovery, but I don't really find them much helpful anymore. I don't really find it helpful at all, to be honest. I find spell damage much more useful, and you will be really in need of more damage while keeping your resources. That's why I pretty much prefer Torx Pact over anything else. Now finally, my very last setup, a PvE setup. It's pretty much pure spell damage, nothing but just spell damage. So for this setup, you'll be using 5 martial knowledge. You can get any 5 martial knowledge pieces you got, but what I got is epaulets, robe top, sash, shoes, and breeches. So you'll be running 5 martial knowledge, 2 adroitness, my head and my necklace, 2 Torx Pact, my gloves and my staff, and finally 2 bands of Cyrodiil's Light. Now I got recovery on my adroitness. I never really changed it. I bought it as recovery, so you're better off with actually 3 spell damage glyphs. I got only 2, but you're better off with 3. Martial knowledge really does boost your spell damage by a lot more. It procs really often, and it's really good. Adroitness 2 pieces for spell damage. Torx Pact 2 pieces for spell damage. So you got pretty much a really high amount of spell damage. It depends too if you are even homed in a campaign that is for your alliance. You could even get more spell damage into that. So I don't really have any right now on my passives, but if I do get them, you can get a really high amount of spell damage without using crit surge. With crit surge, you'll even have even more spell damage to buff your crushing shock and or your impulse or any other AoE you want to use, or single target DPS as a Magika build in PvE dungeons or anything like that. Now I tried this build for PvP. I tried some other builds and I tried tweaking with it and changing stuff in it. but it was really difficult to run this build because you don't have reductions and your Magika just consumes really quick. Although you deal some massive damage, but you take some really more massive damage and you're pretty much just out of resources in no time. You can't streak much, so it's not really worth it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This was pretty much all the setups I got for you guys, all the armor setups combinations I got. Next will be the builds of my skills and the combinations of skills to use with these setups. To start with, I only get 2 builds with my skills, one for PvP, one for PvE. My PvP build is completely fixed with only 2 skills that could be changed to your preference. So I'm running Endless Fury, Wall Lightning, Crystal Fragments, Curse, and Lightning Flood. Now I'm running Wall Lightning, not Streak, because Streak got nerfed on the stun time and its damage. And Wall Lightning got a fix because back in 1.5, if some of you did not notice, it did not always suck in the projectiles, and sometimes you took damage even while you're beside your ball, even when you're hiding behind your Ball Lightning. Right now it got fixed and you can just keep that shit up and you never take any damage, and using Ball Lightning makes no need for you to use defensive posture. I used to use defensive posture a bit because it reflected the spells back and for me to take less damage, but now when you keep Ball Lightning up the entire time, you just take absolutely no damage from crushing shocks, from any projectile that is thrown into you, from crystals, and pretty much any spell based spell. Curse is the same more for crystal fragments, but I'm using Lightning Flood this time because it got buffed. I'm using the one with more AoE because if you use the other one that does more damage and lasts longer, it's kind of hard to use it. What's hard in it is when you're fighting and you're targeting an enemy, the enemy could just move anywhere, so it's really hard for you to target him with a small AoE skill. So he'll just move away from it really easily, but this one has a really decent amount of it has a really decent amount of AoE distance. So pretty much it can always cover you and get your enemy to take the damage from it. Now it only lasts for 6 seconds, and you might think that's little, but it's actually a lot, and you can just cast it again, and I absolutely do not mind casting it again. Because think about it, if you use the one with less AoE and your opponent just moves away from it, that makes like 2k Magika just wasted. You just waste your Magika. If you guaranteed to hit your enemy with this one, with a larger AoE one, you're better off using that one. And now it does really nice damage without the conduit synergy. Something some people think you have to use the conduit, but you do not have to anymore. It does, as you can see in the tooltip, it does 814 shock damage every 3.5 seconds for 6 seconds, and you can just keep casting it again, which is even more and more. Now the way I use it is I pretty much just put mines under me, and I put Lightning Flood under me, and whoever just jumps in will take massive damage, and I'll just curse them, crystal fragments them, and ice calm it, and they're literally just done for dead, absolutely like just wrecked. It's just really funny, and I got too much footage of me doing that combination. It's really worth using. Because what was the point of using mines is because mines, when you put them down and then you get jumped by people who fight in close range, they take pretty much passive damage. Passive damage, I call it passive damage. It's because they take damage where you are doing different kinds of damage. So they take mine damage while you're cursing them or crystal fragmenting them. So pretty much using Lightning Flood just adds more to the passive damage. So any two-hander retard who just keeps crit rushing you, you just have your mines and your Lightning Flood ready. He jumps in, you curse him, and then you crystal fragments him and ice calm it, and he's pretty much just done for. It's a really good and nice combination that is really effective against these types of players, Nightblades or any other person who just fights in close range combat. Now my secondary bar, actually my lightning flood is interchangeable if you want. It's one of the skills that I would actually give a change for if you want to change it. You could use Boundless Storm, that gives you armor and spell resistance. It would help you resist resist that two-handed damage that it's really massive and big right now, since you don't have much armor from light armor. So Boundless Storm could actually be a really good and effective skill for you to use, or you can put Power Surge instead for you to buff your damage. Now Power Surge, I'd like to put it on my second bar, but you can put it on your main bar and then put something else on your main bar. That's what I pretty much do. I like to keep Lightning Flood on my main bar and have Power Surge on my second bar. Now if I'm running alone, I would go for either Power Surge on my secondary bar or Restraining Prison. Right now Restraining Prison got a reduction on its cost, making it much more even worth using, and what makes it even more worthwhile using is your opponent will have to well dodge it. So if they pretty much well dodge once and then twice and then 3 times, they're pretty much, you can guarantee you got them out of stamina. It's a really good way to drain your opponent of stamina if he's not stamina based, but if he's stamina based, I think it's useless, because there are many stam builds right now that can just make you almost just literally infinite on stamina, which makes the skill really just useless. So you could decide what is your preference, Crit Surge or Restraining Prison. Or you could use Defensive Rune, which is really worth using right now. It 1.5 second cast time. It lasts for 72 seconds, so it's really useful if you for like, you know, anti-gank builds. If you're like gonna run from a long distance on your horse from a keep to a keep, just cast it once on you, and if you get sniped, your opponent will be encased and you can find his place, or he'll be rooted for 19 seconds. He could CC break it, but it will get him out of stealth for sure, which will make it a really good spell for anti-ganking. Now my second bar, I have not mentioned it, is Ball Lightning, Hardened Ward, Healing Ward, Defensive Rune, or Restraining Prison, or Power Surge, and finally my Mines. Mines, by the way, are considered for some reason by ZeniMax as damage over time effect, which is actually shouldn't be like that, but that's how ZeniMax considers it. They consider Mines as damage over time. So just to keep that in mind, whoever puts points into their health constellation, the one that gives you reductions on damage over time effects, anyone who has points in that will take less damage from Mines. So you could actually run into an opponent with no points in it and he'll take massive damage, and an opponent who has tons of points in it and he'll take pretty much no damage from Mines. So just keep that in mind when using them. And if you do not like Mines, to be honest, you don't have to use it. I mean, I use Mines because I use one-hander, but if you prefer to use, say you prefer to use Destruction Staff, which I don't do, but you could do. So if you prefer using a Destruction Staff and a Crushing Shock, then you could take out your Mines, because such a build will require a lot of mobility. You don't need to stand in your place like I do with my one-hander. So you need to move a lot and you don't need Mines much. So you can switch Mines out for Dark Conversion, and it can help you a lot more to gain back your stamina, your magic, if you want to, or you can switch it over for Restraining Prison. Or for even much more mobility and defense, you can go for Boundless Storm, since you don't have one-hander to block. So it's up to you really, whatever you find easier for you to use and more convenient for you and easier. Just change stuff however you would want and like. Crushing Shock is a really good, if you find a way. For example, if you want to give up your curse, you can, for something, I'd really recommend giving it up for Elemental Drain. Elemental Drain gives you 314 Magika for each element damage you do. So if you use Elemental Drain on your enemy and Crushing Shock, you'll be getting back almost your entire Crushing Shock cost back, which will pretty much negate it, reduce its cost. It will reduce it like massively, and you can spam Crushing Shocks forever. But I do not recommend it for Zergs, so you could find wherever you prefer and suits you better and just use it. So I hope you guys found this PvP build helpful, and next will be my PvE build, and we should be done. Right, so finally for my PvE build, I got Crushing Shock, Shock Ring, Lightning Flood, Evil Hunter if you're fighting a dungeon that has Daedras in them, undeads and that stuff, for it to proc Power Surge. And ultimates really differ. Sometimes you need Negate, it always depends really, Negate or Atronach or Comet. It really does depend. So if you don't need Evil Hunter in here, I put I put Hardened Ward just to, it's not a self heal, but it's just to keep you surviving, to keep you up and alive. If you got like low HP and stuff like that, it could really make up for your low HP, like me, to be honest. So if this is pretty much for the mobs, so if you're going against a boss that does not need AoE, you can take off both Lightning Flood and Crushing Shock, and for this one you really do have to go against that boss with Elemental Drain. I just give up Lightning Flood and go for Elemental Drain, and normally I keep Shock Ring because many of the bosses summon adds and stuff, so you need to keep one AoE at least, and Elemental Drain the boss, and then you can spam Crushing Shock a lot, like a big lot, much longer than anything. Without Elemental Drain you'll need tons of pots and it will be really hard to keep up your Magika. My secondary bar, I got Ball Lightning, not really useful. Sometimes it's useful against some bosses that throw projectiles, but you can keep it off and take it off. You can put Hardened Ward in its place, it's up to you really. Second bar, I got Boundless Storm. It buffs your armor and spell resist and your movement speed, does some AoE damage too. Healing Ward to self-heal yourself when needed. Evil Hunter. If you want to put in your second bar or your first bar, it's up to you. You could take it off and put Restraining Prison. If you're getting followed by mobs, this is perfect for you to just keep them in place and move away from their damage. And finally, like, this is an unchangeable skill, like it has to be there, Dark Conversion. Since you're running full spell damage, you'll eventually definitely run out of Magika, but not as fast as you think. So when you do run out of Magika, you could just switch over to this, use it like for a few seconds, and then just take it off and go back to your DPS. But if you're going against a boss and you're using Elemental Drain, you shouldn't really run out of Magika much, but if you do, you can just switch over, use it, and then switch back. I'd prefer to keep a Negate always in one of my bars. Negates are always really helpful, and you need them at times. Sometimes you need them to res someone. You could Negate above his body and then res him. It will help you against mobs, just to keep them off you while you're resing people. I find it helpful in Spin the Clutch, mainly Spin the Clutch dungeon. A few of the bosses there, they really does help from there. That should be pretty much it. You guys saw my so this build pretty much is compatible with my setup for PvE: full spell damage, martial knowledge, adroitness, and pretty much full spell damage. It's perfect. Your damage should pretty much be like really decent and high. I didn't really check the numbers. I don't use FTC much, but I've run pretty much all the dungeons now since 1.6, and my damage is pretty much really good and decent. Now, if you're thinking about running 5 Warlock, 5 Seducer, you could do that, and you will literally have infinite Magika. But there is no need to do that. You could just go damage and have semi-infinite Magika and do a lot more damage. That's what I pretty much recommend. I'm not really a PvE expert, but I've joined PvE guilds and I've seen some PvE, like some ways, and I've learned some techniques. I'm not really a pro in PvE, but that's what I think is good right now. There could be better stuff, so you could correct me in the comments. Just take it easy and just don't take it hard on me, because I'm not really that pro in PvE, to be honest. But these are just my ideas. You could change them if you want to, or you could, you know, get them better if you know how. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this guide, and leave your like and comment and subscribe, and see you guys in my next video. Peace.
Peace.